I love words. I think in pictures and I tell stories. And we've all got a story to tell, though we might not have worked out which one yet. Or we might have been telling a story that we want to rewrite. So how do we look at ourselves and work out which story we want to tell? What should we share? What should we keep to ourselves? And what image are you trying to portray? So my question is, do ordinary people need a brand guru? And by brand guru, I don't mean go out and get yourself a logo and come up with a catchy strapline for your mission on Earth or some other phrase to define yourself. I just mean who you are, what you post online, what you say to people you meet, and most importantly, the way that you make people feel creates an image of who you are. Our social circle used to be the only people that we'd reach out to, our friends, our family. But now, with social media, we're all global citizens. So I can be sitting in Keswick and post something, and 2 minutes later, it's in Kansas or Kathmandu. And people who will never meet me will read things that I've posted. Do we need to ask ourselves, what mark are we going to leave on this earth in what is a pretty short lifespan? Once we engage with social media, we are setting ourselves up to be judged. And most people are pretty careful about what they put out there. Most of us wouldn't post something that's embarrassing about ourselves or about somebody else. And I know people who haven't signed up to social media yet because they're still worried about what they'll post or what they'll say or how it will come across. So, is it the case that the people who need a brand guru the most are going to be the ones that realise it the least? Going to Africa, hope I don't get AIDS. Just kidding, I'm white. So this is an American PR executive. She got on a plane and was flying to visit relatives in South Africa. While she was in the air and unable to do any more tweeting or to see what happened, a Twitter storm broke out. Essentially, that tweet got retweeted thousands and thousands of times. Her friend saw what was happening. She tried to take it off the internet. But once it's there, it's always there. So it was being shared and shared. A hashtag saying, "Has Justine landed yet?" was created. Oh yeah, try it when you get home. And by the time she landed in Cape Town, there were people waiting to take her photograph. One tweet blew up her life. And she probably didn't think she needed a brand guru. So is it ever too late to rebrand yourself or to retell your story? So researching this talk, like Diane said I had to, I Googled myself and discovered there was a photograph of me in a ball. That didn't really surprise me because I was in the ball when the photo was taken. And I knew that the person who took the photograph was going to try and share it as much as they could. So this, I think, is over in the States. And then this, I think, is a Slovak website. And then there were some Chinese websites, but I didn't know what they said about me. So I kind of thought it was best not to share them until I could translate what it said. I was more surprised when I found this, which is a tweet. And it says, "No matter who owns it, this will always be my view." And that is a view from near our garden of Blencathra. And last year, when a local lord put the mountain up for sale, I thought, well, it doesn't matter who owns it, I can still look at it. So tweeted that, thought nothing of it. And then when I researched the talk, I saw my tweet was in a French newspaper. So that was quite interesting. How did it get there? And not only that, I was quite glad I was a cartoon person. So if you see my little meme thing, it's not an actual picture, so I won't get recognised. But my words, my tweet, my photograph were all there. And they were in a German website as well. So I thought it was quite fascinating how far you can get to. And so far, I'm not unhappy about what you can find online about me. Yet. So you've all got one of these, or something similar, great storytelling devices. What do your last 3 tweets say about you? Have a look. Get your phones out. Or if Facebook's your thing, what does it say about you? What were the last 3 things you shared? Breakfast, anybody? One of those things that sort of, tells you what kind of car you are? Would people who've never met you be able to look at it and write your eulogy? They're just the last 3 random things. Would they be able to write your eulogy? Would it come up with something that you would be thinking would reflect who you are? And would you be happy? And would it really capture you? The last 3 things. So your credibility comes from your honesty, and your honesty is the cornerstone of everything that you put out there. And you need to think to yourself, when you put things out on social media, how would you feel about seeing it on the front of the newspaper tomorrow? Would you be able to walk around Whitehaven with whatever it is printed on a t-shirt? And if you wrote something about somebody else, even obliquely, could you sit down face to face with them and it? You'll get a higher quality of connection if your story is true, but you've got to be ready for what will come back. Here we go. Can you see that one? I got quite a lot of stick for this photograph. I was quite happy with it because my brief was to send a really clear message just before the Scottish were voting for independence about which way quite a lot of the United Kingdom wanted them to vote. Now, I knew it had a huge O because 10,000 people spent 6 weeks building it out of sandstone. And I thought, what we need is a big N. So it spells no. And with 3 days' notice and no N, there was no chance we were building it out of stone. So we decided to gather lots of people together and put them into some smaller stones. And then I needed to get up in the sky to get the photograph. Great idea. How on earth do you do it? Drone. Surely, a drone. Somebody, surely in Cumbria, has got a drone. I can get up there in 3 days' time and we'll take the picture and it'll be great. No. No, no, no. There was no drone free on Saturday. So we found a gyrocopter pilot who said, yay, I'll take you up in the gyrocopter and you can take the picture yourself. And my husband said, you know, a gyrocopter is just like a motorbike with a propeller. No, I didn't know that. Anyway, we went up, we got the photograph, we got into the Times. The people behind the old acquaintance cairn were delighted with the coverage. What I hadn't anticipated was the vitriol I would get on Twitter from pro-independent Scots. And if you go on my Twitter feed, you can probably read what they said and the things that they shared, and they were arguing about how many people were in the N and other things which were way more revolting than that. So, get your story straight, sort your branding out. Find yourself this chocolate cricket ball, and you could see your story being shared all over the world. Stephen Fry tweeting to 8.9 million followers about your story. One of your photographs being shared by a South African cricketer, and then it being retweeted 70,000 times. That was quite a popular photograph. It appeared in all sorts of places. Ian Hislop used it on Have I Got News For You, and I was particularly delighted when he said Rain Stop Play, which was the name of our website and the name of our story. So that was great. And we played the world's first game of underground cricket. So, what am I talking about? I was driving along the A66, which just goes behind that cricket club for those who don't know the area very well. And it was a typical June evening in the Lake District. It was throwing it down. It was really, really, really throwing it down. And as I was driving, my car slew across the A66, and I nearly ended up in the car park of the cricket club. There was a terrible flood, and most of the contents of the mountain spewed out onto the pitch. So thousands of tons of gunk and stone destroyed the cricket pitch, where days earlier we'd literally just held our summer fair. I did what you do when you have a scary experience, and I tweeted about it, and then the next morning I saw on Facebook a YouTube video of the water coming out of the culvert and across the pitch. And from the sky you can see how much damage was caused. That big grey blob is the damage that was caused. £100,000 worth of damage. Now this is a tiny village, a small cricket, not a very good cricket team, but they're a lovely cricket team. And you know, this could have been the end of the game in Threlkeld. But the boys were not going to see it be the end of the game. And I put this picture up because they're team nice. And I volunteered to help them. I volunteered, I think, because they are nice. I could see a cracking story, and I love stories. So, they had an idea about how they could fix the pitch. They thought, we'll make a calendar, and we'll sell the calendar, and we'll make lots of money, and we'll fix the pitch. And because they had nowhere to play, they took their bats and balls and went off in search of a new cricket pitch. And we called this thing extreme cricket. And we went all over the place playing extreme cricket. And we found a photographer who was willing to go to extreme lengths to get amazing pictures of these cricketers. This is the Belvedere near Keswick. And this viaduct, you probably can't see very well, but the little white dots on this disused viaduct is the cricket players. They battled all year to make sure they got something from every season. And when they got to the top of this mountain, they played on sprinkling tarn, which was tested thoroughly to make sure they wouldn't end up under the ice. But they had to take brushes and sweep and make their little wicket before they could play and take the photos. And as you saw earlier, this is them going underwater. What was interesting about them playing underwater is cricket pads are really light. So when they tried to go down, the pads kept going up. And the shot we got, the really, really nice shot that was supposed to be a practice. But we ended up using it because we weighted them down once and it was so scary that they didn't want to do it again. We sold 6,500 calendars. We raised £50,000 and we got the English and Welsh Cricket Board to agree to help. And the boys were particularly excited to get in this book, because apparently that's the Bible if you're into cricket. The story doesn't stop there. When you've got a good story and other people can see it's a good story, it inspires other people to do similar things. So the year after we did our calendar, the Rwandan national team decided they'd make their calendar. And they have, and they're doing really well. And they want to build a national stadium. But for them, they've got a different job in clearing their pitch. We were clearing stone. You can imagine what they were clearing. And then in Darjeeling, they have decided to raise money for Médecins Sans Frontières by creating a calendar too. And there is another one that's on its way, which is the London-based one, but they're really going to be out of this world because they got way more money to start off with and they're doing it for fun. So, this is what happens when you've got a good story and you tell it well. And I think you have all got a story to tell. And I think good stories are always worth sharing. And I think your closest friend can be your brand guru. You don't need an expert. So I thought I'd show you some ordinary people doing extraordinary things. So this is probably the coolest selfie I have ever seen. And it's Stuart Holmes, and he took all the cricket photographs. This is Sally, whose husband was delighted to take her desk to the top of Blencathra for the day, for absolutely no good reason at all, other than it was there and they could. You've got Tim, who most days of the week you will see wearing a pinny, cooking bacon in a bed and breakfast. But twice a year he goes off to the top of the world and helps people achieve their dreams of climbing Everest. It's quite funny. He's got a little bear there that his children gave him to take up to the top. He sort of has this thing to sort of reassure them that everything's okay. Somebody else saw the photograph and go, "Isn't it amazing what you find in the rubbish on Everest?" This is Nick and Diane. These two did the 10 in 10, which is climbing 10 mountains in 10 hours. And they raised money for multiple sclerosis. And the amazing thing is that Nick hadn't really climbed many mountains before. And she lost 6 stone in training to do the walk. This is someone at the other end of the scale. This is Steve Birkinshaw, and he climbed all 214 Wainwrights in 13 days and 6 hours. This is Andy and Gary McKeating, and they're in a bed in the middle of Windermere. And the reason they're in the bed is because they were raising awareness of how we try to keep older people warm in the winter. This is Duncan. He is rowing up and down Derwentwater. He has MS. He is behind the event which sees people walking those 10 mountains every year. And he rowed 49 miles that night. And in the past 5 years, he's raised more than £100,000 for multiple sclerosis research. This is Ev. He's 10. He is one of the county's best swimmers. He climbs an actual mountain every day. and his mum is trying to open the first school for autistic children in the county. This is Freddie, who played a grand piano in the middle of a crowded airport for no other reason other than it was there. And that's me holding my bike above my head because we're almost at the end. We've all got the propensity to default to the ordinary. I challenge you to be extraordinary, to get your story straight and to share it. And I leave you with a quote by somebody else who is quite amazing, climber and writer Andy Kirkpatrick, who said, "Maybe everyone should take more time to talk about their lives, to write your story down. Don't think of them as small and valueless, but as a fable, an epic, a movie, and each having as much value and as importance as any other, and much more than any one of us living that life will ever know."